Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Frugal Noodle, the podcast dedicated to helping you understand money, finance, investing, retirement, early or otherwise, and in today's episode, how to get into investing if you're a beginner. As a disclaimer, this is not financial advice. It is simply me sharing as I learn. Now, a lot of people hear the word investing and think stocks. They imagine Wall Street and brokers running around on the investing floor to pass orders for buys and sells. And that's why a novice to investing is often turned off to the notion and avoids jumping in the first place. And that's likely an exaggeration. There are 18-year-olds that use Robinhood on their phone nowadays, so that image of Wall Street probably only possesses a few individuals at this point. But for a lot of people, it is still overwhelming to imagine investing their money outside of their 401k. But as I've mentioned in past episodes, there are a lot of safe channels to invest and expect comfortable growth and minimize losses. These being IRA, both traditional and Roth, brokerage accounts consisting of ETFs and index funds. On top of my 401k, I partake in an IRA, brokerage accounts with ETFs and index funds, as just mentioned, as well as individual stocks and even crypto. If I were new to investing, I wouldn't play with any substantial amount of money in individual stocks or crypto. Substantial, obviously subjective to your situation. But of course, investing in general, no matter what you choose, there are some basic skills that are going to help anyone looking to get involved in investing their money. When it comes to investing, overthinking gets the better of a lot of new investors. If you're not sure about what you're doing in any situation, you overthink. Remember when you first jumped on a skateboard? You were thinking about the likelihood of your wheel catching a rock and tripping you, or the chance that you might lean too far in one direction and have the board slip out from under you. It made you shaky and second guess every motion. Or maybe you've never tried skateboarding and this is an unreliable analogy. But when it comes to investing, the same can be said. If you overthink things, you're liable to make poorer decisions and lose money. The key to not overthinking is honing skills that prevent uncertainty. Patience is an important foundation to investing. Without patience, I would look at investments that need time to mature and pan out in ways that I'd hoped they would and sell them at some of the worst positions they were ever in. And I have. Early on in my time investing, I had sold off at a loss more than once. Selling at a loss isn't necessarily the wrong thing to do, but getting caught up in the anxiety of the investment you made at 10 a.m. this morning and selling at 12:30 p.m. because it's down 1.7% isn't a mindset you want to get caught in. Patience will be paramount in allowing investments to pan out as they're intended to. Keep in mind that some investments are lifelong. Only a few individuals are successful with the day trading that we've seen romanticized by a lot of YouTubers and ads on YouTube. Being able to research thoroughly is another skill that will help make better investing decisions. Investing in a company just because you like their stock symbol or the way they named their company is obviously not a great investment strategy. But digging into what companies build up a given ETF or index fund, breaking down what makes those companies safe investments, looking into the performance history and predictions, and budgeting what you're able/willing to afford is all the difference in feeling that a given portfolio has balance. Strategy is also a great skill when it comes to investing. You've likely heard the term exit strategy, and I'm sure you can imagine what it means. But basically, knowing how long to stay with a given investment, what amount of gain or loss you're hoping/willing to achieve/accept, and having a plan for what to do with that money next. For the most part, safe investments are safe because they can hang out in a portfolio nearly indefinitely. Even when they've had a bad year, they recover well the longer they're held. This is especially true for the ETFs and index funds that are well blended for consistent growth. And even more true for those that are actively managed by the brokerage and adjust the symbols that build them up. Of course, there are more skills than these that can make a better investor out of any one of us, but these are the basics. And the best thing about skills when it comes to anything we're wanting to pursue is that they can all be learned. Natural born talent is one thing, and a rare thing at that, but even the most amazing artists, singers, and athletes are the product of thousands of hours of dedication to their craft. And just a short time in investing can lead to success, small or large, if you're willing to put the time and energy into understanding it. Now, where to start investing? Well, as mentioned, I invest in my employer-sponsored 401k, a Roth IRA that I have sought out myself. I use a brokerage account through Vanguard, and I use a few exchanges for crypto. Where would I start if I were brand new to investing? Again, I max out or commit contributions to max out my 401k and IRA by the end of the year. These are tax-advantaged accounts that should not be neglected, in my opinion, so I take advantage of that. After those accounts, I target those healthily blended ETFs and index funds that are going to offer diversity, security, and perform comfortably. I've mentioned some in the past, but we like VTI, which is a Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, and the ETFs offered by ARK. That's ARK. For index funds, we like VTSAX, which is the Vanguard stocks symbol for their total stock market index fund, and VXUS, which is the international stock market symbol that Vanguard has also used as an index fund. This blend gives us a safe track of the overall performance of the market, while the ARK ETFs give us some opportunity to dig into the fresher developments in the tech sector. So while those ARK ETFs are more targeted in terms of what build them up, they're still very diversified because they have companies in them like Tesla and Apple and Shopify, things like that. So it builds up with a lot of common and popular names, but it still diversifies you. There are so many other ETFs and index funds out there, and Vanguard is not the only provider by a long shot. And we'll likely add on more symbols as we go, but the path we're on now is a stable course for that comfortable average annual growth of 7%. At the time of this recording, Vanguard does not offer a referral or affiliate program, so I'm not an affiliate, but I do have a link in my link tree for places to invest. When it comes to the other places to invest, there are so many that you can work with. You can look it up on Google and you'll find places. The only place I will not recommend is Robinhood, and the reasons for that I've mentioned in a previous episode, but I plan on getting really into it in the future with a series I'm planning. Wink, wink. Now, some considerations. Even the best performers have had their bad hours, days, weeks, quarters, and years. So preparing for heartbreak is important. And also accepting that going negative on an investment doesn't have to be the end if you wait it out will help in preventing heartbreak in general. When I invest in something new, I get excited by it and I like to check on it frequently, but after a week to a month, I completely ignore the investment for the most part. I check in on my net worth occasionally, investments once a month or so, but I don't react to any losses. This is true for even crypto and individual stocks at this point, where I know my initial investment was money that I was willing to lose completely anyways. This has only happened a few times, but it is a reason why I do not suggest anyone invest in crypto or individual stocks, especially someone new to investing. If you are investing and are making gains that you want to realize, which is to say sell your shares and take your profit, then consider that any investments held for less than a full year is taxed at a higher rate because it is not viewed as a long-term investment. This is short-term capital gains tax. It is dependent on your tax bracket and when you sell your investment at a gain. But when you sell short-term investments, you can expect to pay an extra 10 to 17% in federal taxes. This can change too depending on your state. If you're living in a state that taxes capital gains on top of the federal taxes, then you'll pay even more, especially if the gains are short-term. And my point is that even a long-term investment, when you realize the profits, you still pay capital gains taxes, but it's not as high because it was a longer term. As with anything in life that should be taken seriously, make sure you're doing your research on any investment you're pursuing. There are communities that will help you on this path and communities that will take advantage of you. So be wary of the suggestions of others, even including me. I don't know any of this stuff that I'm talking about. I'm just sharing as I learn, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Here's a disclaimer. Take lessons you learn along the way and apply them in the future. That's the name of any game if you play it long enough. Learning from your actions and mistakes, things that succeed and things that fail, it's all crucial to improving the outcomes in the future. So if the debt is cleared out and my 401k and IRA are maxed out or on track to max out, I'll be investing as much of my earnings as I can to pull retirement closer every day. And that's a great motivator to really pursue this. I'm sure there's math out there for the scenario, but if you knew that for every $50 invested, you'd be pulling your retirement date closer by a day, hour, or minute, wouldn't it be worth investing as much as you can to cut out another week, month, or year of the time you'll be spending working for someone else? Thank you for listening to this episode of Frugal Noodle. Be sure to follow the show wherever you get podcasts to stay up to date on the latest episodes. And follow Frugal Noodle on social media. Links are in the show notes below. If you have any questions for me or want to shoot me an email about a subject we've covered or whatever, maybe you want to suggest a subject, I'm totally open to that. And my email is frugalnoodlepod@gmail.com. The music for this episode was produced by CARBS. Again, thank you for listening. This is Cody, Frugal Noodle, and I will see you next week.